Let's catch these EAWS wings. A quick review of Phase 1 and 2. We start at the keel, the structure that holds this mighty Navy together. SORM. It's the Standard Organizational Regulations Manual, the rulebook that keeps the chaos of the seas in check. Like the pirate code, but with more paperwork and less rum. Think of it as the constitution for your command, dictating everything from who salutes whom to how to report a rogue wave. Now let's trace the flows of power, like rivers feeding into the ocean. The operational chain of command, it cascades from the president, the ultimate captain, down to the secretary of war, then to the commander of the unit, and finally to the assigned force. It's a straight shot, top-down authority for when the cannons are firing. Imagine it as a game of telephone, but with nukes and aircraft carriers. One wrong whisper, and boom. Flip the coin to the administrative chain. That's the paperwork powerhouse, flowing from the Secretary of the Navy and the Chief of Naval Operations straight to the operating forces. It's the behind-the-scenes magic that keeps the fleet fueled and funded. Like the quartermaster ensuring there's grog for the crew. For a more in-depth review on the different commands, fleets, ships, CBR warfare, and flight deck familiarization, be sure to check out our separate in-depth videos. And be sure to press like and subscribe if these videos are helping you prepare. Now on to reports. These are the carrier pigeons of the Navy. OPREP, Operational Report for Incidents Involving Nuclear Weapons, sent to the NCA National Command Authorities and appropriate naval commanders. MOVREP, Movement Report, tracking ship locations like GPS for the high seas. LOGREQ, Logistical Report, submitted 48 hours before a port call for all needed supplies. Think shopping list for a battleship. SORTS, Status of Resources and Training System, keeping tabs on readiness. SITREP, reporting violent crimes, assaults, robberies, discrimination, sexual harassment, suicides attempts, or bomb hoaxes. Serious stuff that demands swift action. ROC and POE, Required Operational Capabilities and Projected Operational Environment, blueprints for what a unit can do and where it'll fight. The U.S. military uses two key scales to stay ready: FORCON, Force Protection Conditions, aka the old THREATCON, for home defense against terrorism, and DEFCON, for big war prep, where level 5 is normal to level 1 max readiness. FPCON is broken down as normal, routine. Alpha is increased threat, Bravo, predictable threat, Charlie meaning incident imminent, and Delta meaning attack occurred meant only for short term. Speaking of attack, onto the gritty glory of survival, first aid. What are the three main objectives? Maintain breathing, stop the bleeding, then prevent or treat for shock. One of the fundamental aspects of assessing someone is with CAB: circulation, airway, breathing. The new ABCs for battlefield miracles. To treat airways with no head or neck trauma, use the head tilt or chin lift. With trauma, use the jaw thrust maneuver, thrust without twist, precision under pressure. After CAB, you can assess for other injuries. There are 3 ways to control bleeding. With direct pressure, pushing hard, pressure points, a now phased out method. Then, finally, tourniquets. The last resort, fetching vital hours to save a life. There's 3 levels of burns. First-degree burns show red skin with mild pain. Second-degree burns show red skin, but with blisters and severe pain, sometimes even caused by sunburns. Ouch! Third-degree burns, potentially less painful due to nerve nuking, but shows charred skin and tissue. When on the battlefield, use the rule of 9s to assess the percentage of the body that is burned. Dislocations? 5 helpers. 1. Loosen clothing. 2. Set in a comfortable position. 3. Support with a sling, pillows, or splint. 4. Treat for shock. 5. Get medical help ASAP. Now, instead of just battlefield aid, how do we assess aircraft damage? With mishaps, Class A is $2.5 million and up, or a total loss of the aircraft or personnel, meaning fatality or permanent total disability. Class B is $600K to $2.5 million, partial disability, or 3+ hospitalized, major oof. Class C is $60K to $600K, or at least 1 day of work missed. Nearly all of these will contain human error, like the villain in every sea tale, potentially even running the aircraft into hazards, which are unsafe acts or conditions. The iceberg to your Titanic. Now, to stop these disasters, enter ORM, Operational Risk Management, the crystal ball for dodging disasters. It's a systematic decision-making process to identify and manage hazards endangering naval resources. Think chess with lives on the line. ORM has 5 steps. Step 1. Identify hazards. You spot a shark near you. 2. Assess hazards. How many sharks are there? 3. Make risk decisions. Swim or fight. 4. Implement controls. Climb into a nearby boat. 5. Supervise. Watch for them to attack. To remember these 5 steps, think of I am is. Remember, never take unnecessary risks, but accept them when the payoff outweighs the danger. Plan ahead to manage them, and let the right person make the call. This is the foundational principles for ORM. ORM comes in 3 flavors depending on how much time you've got. In-depth is the full sit-down planning session. Think pre-deployment briefs where you map every hazard, run the numbers, and build a bulletproof plan. Deliberate is the quick team huddle. On the deck or in the brief room, you spot the risks, weigh them fast, and layer on controls before the next evolution. Time critical is the split-second gut call. Mid-flight during a high-speed taxi, or when the deck pitches hard, where instinct, training, and the 5 steps kick in to keep you alive right now. Now onto the dark arts, chemical agents. You have liquid nerve agents, solid and liquid blister agents, gaseous blood agents, and liquid or gas choking agents. Pathogens versus toxins. Pathogens invade and replicate. They're living organisms, while toxins are non-living poisons from pathogens, like snake venom. For detection, you can use a 9-chemical agent detector paper. It turns red for liquids but not vapors. Oh no! You've been exposed to a nerve agent. Quick use the atropine 2 PAM chloride autoinjector, an intramuscular nerve agent antidote. To hopefully not have to use those devices, the Navy has passed out 5 IPEs or individual protective equipment. This includes a protective mask with canister, advanced chemical protective garment, gloves, sliners, overboots with laces, and a skin decon kit, forming your HAZMAT superhero suit. To know when you'll need to use this gear, the Navy has established MOP, Mission-Oriented Protective Posture, a level of gearing up. Speaking of gearing up, you might have to fight some fires. Your primary duty being saving lives. Secondary, extinguish and limit damage. Save the ship. Knowing that fire is a tetrahedron made of oxygen, heat, fuel, and a chemical chain reaction will save someone's life. Break one, and you break the fire. Part of the tetrahedron is the fuel. We break that down into 4 different classes and what agent to use on them. Class A, combustibles, water or AFFF. Class B, liquids, AFFF, halon 1211, PKP, or CO2. Class C, energized, CO2, PKP, or H2O fog minimum 4 feet away. If it's non-energized, treat as A, B, or D. Finally, Class D, metals, massive H2O fog from a shelter. Don't get close. PPE, personal protective equipment. Your armor against the elements, potentially saving your life or hearing. Your flight line gear should include steel-toed boots, cranial helmet, eye goggles, gloves, your aerial armor. Occasionally, you'll handle hazardous materials, HAZMAT, and when you do, the key resource is the Safety Data Sheet, SDS, formerly known as the Material Safety Data Sheet, MSDS. The SDS details every hazard, safe handling procedures, emergency responses, and protective measures for the chemical. Common HAZMAT categories include flammables, aerosols, which are pressurized dispensers, toxic, corrosive materials that eats through skin or metal, oxidizing, which can fuel fires, and finally compressed gases, where pressure has explosion risks if mishandled. Always use approved, properly marked containers for storage and transport. Your command's authorized use list, all, spells out exactly which materials are approved for your work center and their intended purpose. Nothing else gets brought in without approval. Personal protective equipment is non-negotiable. Eye protection, respirators, when needed, and gloves are your first line of defense. Every container label must clearly show the product name, manufacturer, and specific hazards, including target organs if applicable, like lungs or skin. Know your SDS, stick to the AUL, gear up properly, and label everything right. You'll stay safe and compliant every time. Quick side note, oily waste is contaminated fluids, while waste oil is unusable oil. HAZMAT is usable material, while HAZWASTE is discarded material. On the airfield, threshold markings are 12 feet by 150 feet, the runway welcome mats, while MA1 overrun barriers are an emergency net. To signal an airfield, the airfield beacon rotates clockwise with 2 white and 1 green light, flashing 12 to 15 times a minute, like a lighthouse disco. In the air, flight uses TACAN, Tactical Air Navigation, shows the position/distance from the station, and the ILS, Instrument Landing System, for blind landings. For towing, move at a max 5 miles per hour, or the slowest walker's pace, with a team of 6 to 10, including a director, brake rider, chalk walker, safety observer, tractor driver, all these people around the plane, but still remember to never face the wheel sides, axle assassins. To secure the aircraft, the flight deck will do multiple things. First, static grounding. They discharge electricity harmlessly to the ground or deck. Then they tie down with chains. The requirement is based on the winds. For initial or normal tie down, it's up to 45 knots, requiring 6 to 9 chains. For moderate, 46 to 60 knots, planes require 14 chains, and heavy 60-plus knot winds will need a staggering 20 chains. Now that we towed the plane into the hangar, we can now talk about its maintenance. Naval Aviation Maintenance Program was created in 1959 to help achieve readiness and safety. Its objective is to improve material readiness and safety. Naval Aviation Maintenance keeps our birds flying high with a smart 3-tier system that's like a pit crew for fighter jets. Level 1, O Level, the Squadron Rockstars. This is you, right here in the line shack at Maintenance Control. Day-to-day chaos, quick fixes and reworks when something breaks on the line, daily inspections which are good for 72 hours or 24 flight hours, turnaround inspections, most special, conditional, and acceptance inspections, swapping tires, and signing off safe for flight. You're the first responders, quick, scrappy, and keeping the jet mission capable today. O-Level owns the fight. For Level 2, it's I-Level, Intermediate Maintenance, down at Production Control or AIMD. When something's too busted for the flight line, you send it to these mad scientists. They tear apart and rework components, support phase inspections for shop-level teardowns, repair and test parts, and fix components requiring specialized tools. Think of I-Level as the skilled garage crew that rebuilds the transmission, while the race team keeps the car on track. They make the complex stuff reliable again. Finally, Level 3, D-Level. This is the full spa day at FRC. Complete teardowns, corrosion battles, structural overhauls, new paint, new wiring, basically making a 20-year-old jet feel like it just rolled off the assembly line. Depot-level work is where old birds get reborn. Now let's talk types, because not every wrench turn is the same flavor. Rework means it's broken, fix it now. The emergency surgery to restore serviceability. While upkeep means let's not let it break in the first place. Scheduled TLC, so the jet stays healthy. And upkeep comes with a whole menu of inspections. These include turnaround, the quick, you good, after every flight, valid for 24 hours. Daily inspections, special inspections, either calendar-based, hour-based, or you just did something crazy checks. Conditional meaning it was triggered by something like a hard landing. And acceptance, brand new gear or after major work. Prove you're not hiding defects. Quality assurance prevents defects before they ever show up. Catch it early or pay for it later. The inspectors can include a QAR, a CDQAR, and a CDI. They check if someone actually did their job or if they left some screws out of the radome, while the quality assurance officer is the boss of it all, not letting anything slip through. Reliability-centered maintenance, or RCM, is the smart engineer's secret weapon. It uses data and analysis to decide exactly what maintenance is truly needed to keep birds flying safely and affordably. No more wasting time fixing what ain't broke. Then you've got the functional check flight, FCF, that heart-pounding test hop required after major work like engine swaps, flight control replacements, certain phase inspections, acceptance checks, or when the jet's been grounded for 30 days or more. It's the ultimate prove you're good to go ride. Logging it all is NALCOMIS, which stands for Naval Aviation Logistics Command Managed Information System, and is in charge of managing and tracking all aviation maintenance activities. Now, to fund all of this requires pulling from two whole separate funds accounts. Aviation isn't cheap after all. Flight ops is used for pilot gear, fuel, plaques, snacks, and morale stuff, while aviation fleet maintenance is the real wrench money. Paint, oils, tools, corrosion fighters, everything that keeps the metal shiny and the engine spinning. In 1961, Naval Air Training and Operating Procedures were created. The purpose of NATOPS was to boost readiness and cut mishaps. Before NAMP or NATOPS, the Marines lost 776 planes in 1950. That's 54 for every 10,000 flight hours. But now there are less than 2 planes lost for every 10,000 hours. Now time for a thrilling flight through naval aviation history. The U.S. Navy was born on October 13, 1775, when the Continental Congress authorized the first ships to fight the British, kicking off over 250 years of blue water dominance. Isaac Hopkins became the Navy's very first commander-in-chief, Sing Si, and by February 1776, the first squadron was already at sea hunting enemy vessels. It all kicked off on November 14, 1910, when civilian daredevil Eugene Eaws strapped into his Curtiss biplane and roared off a makeshift wooden platform on the bow of the USS Birmingham in Hampton Roads, Virginia. The plane dipped, skimmed the waves, but Ealy kept it flying. The first airplane takeoff from a ship. Naval aviation was born in that spray-soaked moment. Just months later, May 8, 1911, became the official birthday of U.S. naval aviation. The Navy took the plunge and bought its first 2 airplanes for $5,500 each. These were Glenn Curtiss biplanes. One became the legendary A-1 Triad, the first Navy aircraft capable of operating from land, water, and air. Captain Washington Irving Chambers made it happen. Visionary move that launched the whole era. But progress came with a heavy price. On June 20, 1913, Ensign William Devotee Billingsley became the Navy's first aviation fatality. Flying the Wright B-2 Hydro aeroplane over Chesapeake Bay, he slipped from his seat, no harnesses back then, fell through the rigging, and the plane crumpled into the water. His observer, Lieutenant John Towers, survived but injured, a sobering reminder that these early days were raw and dangerous. Fast forward to World War I prep. On October 22, 1917, the Navy opened the inspector school at MIT, the early ancestor of today's quality assurance reps, QARs, training experts to ensure every new plane and engine was battle-ready. Quality control was born in the classroom before the fight. Then came the game changer. On March 20, 1922, the USS Langley, converted from the Collier Jupiter, was commissioned as the Navy's first aircraft carrier, a floating airfield at last, proving carriers could project power anywhere the ocean went. World War II was pure drama for aviation. The Battle of Coral Sea happened May 7 and 8, 1942, the world's first carrier versus carrier clash. 3 Japanese carriers tried to seize Port Moresby and threaten Australia. 2 U.S. carriers, Lexington sunk and the now damaged Yorktown, fought back and sank an isolated Japanese carrier, forcing Japan to back off. No more easy invasions down under. June 3 through 5, 1942 was the Battle of Midway. Yamamoto's massive fleet, 4 carriers and 11 battleships, fought against Admiral Nimitz's 3 carriers, the Hornet, Enterprise, and the damaged Yorktown. Against the odds and with the help of cracking Japanese code, Japan lost all 4 of its carriers, while the U.S. lost Yorktown. The tide turned for ever-shifting Pacific momentum. November 13th through 15th, 1942, Guadalcanal's brutal night battles included a tragedy for the Sullivan brothers, 5 siblings from Waterloo, Iowa, who insisted on serving together on the USS Juneau. The ship was torpedoed by Japanese sub-I-26, sinking in just 30 seconds and claiming 697 lives, a heartbreaking lesson in family and sacrifice. This tragedy has forever changed the Navy's code with family, never allowing family on the same ship. After World War II, the jet age arrived on March 10, 1948, when the FJ-1 Fury made the Navy's first operational jet landing on a carrier, the USS Boxer. No more props. The future was turbojet. That same year, 1948, the Navy stood up its first helicopter squadrons, HU-1 and HU-2, pioneering vertical lift for rescue, logistics, and combat support. Rotors were now part of the fleet. The space race soared with Navy pilots leading the way. May 5, 1961, Alan Shepard Jr. blasted off on Freedom 7 for America's first suborbital spaceflight. 15 minutes of pure courage. Then, in July 20-21, 1969, Neil Armstrong, a Navy aviator at heart, took one small step on the moon. In 1967, the Navy created the Master Chief Petty Officer of the Navy, MCPON role, with Delbert Black stepping up as the inaugural MCPON. Fast forward to equality in 1994, the Navy integrated women into combat roles. The first female carrier qualifications happened that year, CLT. Kara Holzgreen became the first female carrier-based fighter pilot in the F-14 Tomcat and the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower became the first combatant ship with women permanently assigned, paving the way for integrated crews flying combat missions. And then came the tragedy of 9/11. September 11, 2001, terrorists attacked with 2 Boeing 767s into the World Trade Center towers, one 757 into the Pentagon, and another crashed in Pennsylvania. 2,977 lives lost from 90 nations. That very day, firefighters George Johnson, Dan McWilliams, and Brent Eisengreen raised the first American flag over the rubble, Ground Zero's iconic symbol. The Navy answered fast with the USS Theodore Roosevelt hoisting her flag on September 30th over the rubble, and on October 7, 2001, planes from the Enterprise launched the first strikes in Operation Enduring Freedom. Retaliation began. Moving on from history, we have the future and how we attack. The Navy has 6 warfare areas. You can remember with RASLAM. 1. Reconnaissance and surveillance. 2. Anti-submarine. 3. Search and rescue. 4. Logistical support. 5. Amphibious assault. And finally 6. Mine warfare. The Navy also has its core capabilities. 1. Forward presence. 2. Deterrence. 3. Sea control. 4. Power projection. 5. Maritime security. 6. Humanitarian assistance/disaster relief. You can remember these with the phrase frogs dive, snakes prowl, mice hide. Fast-paced physics course now. Motion in aviation is simply a change in position, coming in 3 flavors. Linear is a straight line. Angular is spinning or rotating, while general is a mix of both. Speed measures distance over time, while velocity adds direction to that speed. Acceleration is how quickly velocity changes over time, and force is the push or pull that drives motion or acceleration. Bernoulli's principle explains why wings generate lift. Faster moving air over the curved top of a wing creates lower pressure compared to the slower air underneath, so the higher pressure below pushes the wing upward, literally sucking the plane into the sky. Newton's laws keep it all grounded in reality. First law, inertia, says an aircraft in steady flight or at rest stays that way unless an outside force, like thrust, drag, gravity, or lift, acts on it. The second law tells us force equals mass times acceleration, so more thrust or less mass means quicker speed changes. His third law guarantees every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Jet exhaust blasts backward, so the plane surges forward, and air deflected downward by the wing creates upward lift. Pilots control motion around 3 axes. Ailerons roll the aircraft side to side along the longitudinal axis. Elevators pitch the nose up or down along the lateral axis, and rudder yaws the nose left or right along the vertical axis, making precise, coordinated flight possible. Identify friend or foe, used to stop accidental friendly fire. Radar stands for radio detection and ranging. 1 mile equals 12.36 millers. Circuit breaker versus fuse. Breaker resets while fuse melts once. The U.S. Navy's Energy Vision, launched by the Chief of Naval Operations in October 2010, made energy a mission vital priority, treating it as a strategic resource that must be used efficiently to keep the fleet resilient and combat ready. To cut fuel burn during carrier operations, the Navy rolled out SMART, short-cycle mission recovery tanking, a smarter refueling tactic where tankers launch quickly, refuel returning jets on short cycles near the carrier, and recover soon after, saving time and gas. The key tool is the Aerial Refueling Store, ARS, a pod that lets FA-18s act as buddy tankers in different setups. Pure, just 1 ARS. Hybrid, 3 wet plus 1 ARS. Or hybrid plus 5 wet plus 1 ARS or 3 wet recovery. While a classic wet tanker carries the ARS plus 2 external tanks for maximum fuel offload, this push for smarter energy use ties perfectly into Energy Month, celebrated every October since President Obama declared it National Energy Action Month in 2012. The goal? Highlight conservation, innovation, and efficiency across the Navy and beyond, ensuring that every drop of fuel goes toward winning the fight instead of being wasted on long, inefficient tanker missions. Fly smarter, fight stronger. In the description, you'll find a full Quizlet to help you study for that board. Remember to check out our in-depth videos to pass that board with ease. Together, we've navigated naval wisdom's vast seas, from SORM's steadfast keel to history's heroic jets, life-saving first aid and ORM, and physics fueling future fights. In this voyage, we've battled chemical storms, quenched deck fires, and mastered maintenance and warfare to keep our fleet unbreakable. Fair winds and following seas, may your wings soar eternally. Until next time,